Hello, and welcome, guys. We are back. Finally. It was a bit of a longer break. With myself, I have a team member of Team Cozy Umbrella. Really looking forward to the chat. And just a reminder before we do begin, uh, remember to vote for your favorite team that produced your favorite game, perhaps, on the ProtoPlay website. You can see, you can actually see the link if you type exclamation mark ProtoPlay in chat, and also if you click on one of the panels below the stream, it will take you to the website. But let's get to the real reason why we are here, which is to hear more about Cozy Umbrella. So let's start with an introduction, perhaps, and some words about your studio and your game.
So I'm Matt. I'm the team leader and programmer for Cozy Umbrella. We made Majorum, which is a cute kind of like sweet village builder where you have to go collect resources and just build up your village and look after your community.
Awesome. Wonderful. Right to the point. So, why not? Let's jump right into it in terms of what the gameplay is. Is it like, is it a crafting? Is it a survival? Can you define your game into any genre? Where did this idea come from?
So we kind of started with, we wanted something where you had to, your normal kind of like city builders, village builders, they're like, you kind of play God and you just like look down from this top-down perspective, and then you have to, you just kind of watch things happen. But we wanted to create a more like unique and personal experience. So the previous mayor of the village, he runs away because he's not doing a very good job. Everybody hates him, and they're all shouting at him at the start. And then you pick up his hat and you become mayor. So then you have to go and gather the resources, go and build the infrastructure that the people need, and it's that more like personal kind of, you are a part of this experience as opposed to you just control the experience.
I see. I think that's a really great way to see to go about it, because you're essentially taking what you know worked, but you are making it more enjoyable. But what you think you would enjoy more as a player. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, definitely. We wanted like that kind of similar to like Minecraft, kind of going to collect the resources to build up your house. Instead of that, it's like you go collect them to build the village to help other people as well.
I see. The higher purpose in every hit of the pickaxe, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what's the day in life for the player?
So we do have a day-night cycle, and you start off start of the day where all the villagers wake up, they all leave their houses and go to do whatever their task may be. And in that time, you should go to the wilderness, which is where the player will be now in the video. And you can collect all the resources that you need for that day, and then make your way back to the village to use those resources. And the nighttime currently is just it's just an aesthetic part of the game where it just looks really pretty and looks beautiful, but it doesn't like benefit gameplay much. But we did have some plans where there would be like mini games that you could only do at night. So like catching fireflies, which maybe one of the villagers might need. But yeah, most of it at the moment, you're completing the quests that we've made and going through collecting resources and just experiencing the world.
Awesome. You mentioned earlier Minecraft. What sort of other inspirations did you actually have for this game? Like when the development started, is this what it was meant to be, or what did you envision the game at first, and why?
So I think probably from the start of development, we all, obviously everybody has their own vision of what the game looks like. And then as you're building it, you kind of piece things together, and it all starts to eventually work out. But I think it was pretty close. The final product was pretty close to what we all kind of envisioned. One thing that I think I know I did mention Minecraft, but I think for me the harvesting is obviously, it's more like Fortnite in a sense, because we have the Fortnite mechanic.
I'm noticing that, yeah.
Yeah, and we chose to make the Fortnite mechanic because to us it was something that people are already familiar with, so we don't have to teach people a new mechanic. but it's also quite intuitive. Of I'm hitting a tree and there's a circle on it. I'll just move my cursor to the the hitbox. So it was quite like intuitive, and also people already knew it. It was tried and tested as well. Yeah, I think the harvesting came along quite well actually, and from our playtests as well, I think people seem to enjoy doing it as well.
Awesome, amazing. When does the player actually create their buildings, or for now is the game focused like on a resources collection? Because now we're seeing some houses in the gameplay.
Yeah. So you when you've collected your resources, at the moment I'm going back to turn in a quest. But when you've got the resources that you need to build for example, now I'm going to do a crop farm. So you go over to designated plots in the village where you can see like there's a plot of land where you could build something.
Okay.
And in that plot of land, you go and you can choose a building out of the buildings list, the building list, which I'm sure in the clip I should do pretty shortly. But yeah, it's so we kind of had like it's not your typical tower defense. Village builder, city builder, where you have your. I was remembering one of the games from earlier. But,
yeah.
where you have your like you can just put buildings down anywhere. These are it's a very kind of like this is the village that you're taking over, and these places already exist, and you have to kind of put the buildings in there.
Oh, there it
create
is.
the villages.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was the kind of feel we were going for. Really, again, making you a part of the village as opposed to just being the mayor.
No, I'm actually honestly liking the route you took this into, because like you said, usually it's from a God's point of view, let's say, right? Where it's just like above, and you don't really exist in the game world, but you control it at the same time, which is quite interesting when you think about that kind of games. But in your game, you change your world, you change your surroundings, and the actions you take affect it. And I think because the game is single player, right? Just before as a single player game, I think that gives you a lot of freedom in terms of how the player interactions with the world can actually affect it. And it almost like creates a story, right, based on players' interactions with the game itself.
Yeah, definitely. We actually have our level designer Pete. He started working on a cave which is up towards the back of the wilderness, and we did have with our facilitator. She actually made a really good suggestion of locking, so you can upgrade your tools, so you can get like a stone pickaxe. And she was saying that we could block the cave off with, say, stones, so that you had to build a stone pickaxe to be able to mine through to get access to the cave. Which stuff like that in your regular village builder, that you just wouldn't have that kind of depth, which I think is like it's a good way for us to be able to expand the world as well. Because it's not just, oh, here you go, here's more space to build your things. It's here's more space to explore and to understand the world a bit more.
Okay, well, since you're mentioning exploring, there is gathering, building. Are players able to encounter any, I don't know, a wolf, whatever there would be in the wilderness?
So we made a conscious decision when we started making the game, when we started thinking of the game. Throughout our time at university, we'd all made games that at some point had some kind of like violence and death to them. So we thought, we knew this game, we were like, right, completely peaceful game, there's going to be no enemies. We really wanted to just make it a space where players could go and just enjoy their time there without having any like threats, and just they can, although I bring up Minecraft again, although Minecraft might be a bad example because it does have enemies.
I mean, it's an easy analogy. I don't blame you for that. Go for it.
Yeah, it's like you kind of like Minecraft. You could go in, for example, you can even play on peaceful game settings where you go in, there's no enemies. You just go in and enjoy your experience, and that was really the kind of experience that we wanted to offer players.
I see. That's cool. That's cool. I'm not sure. Can you tell us a bit about the lore of the game?
Yeah.
Is there much lore? Because I'm actually getting really curious about it, because the player, like, I'm not sure they're swapping characters, but they're certainly swapping out outfits. The quests seem to have some story behind them. There is the villagers as well. Although this one is looking like a statue.
Yeah, he should. There you go. He's getting up. He's gonna go water the plants. He's gonna go plant some seeds, and I know Josh will be frustrated that he's walked that way around the house, but AI wasn't my job. But yeah. So the lore, we started off with kind of, we wanted to make this like I say, like this peaceful experience, but we obviously needed a reason for you to be doing it as well. So pretty much what happened was we started off with like, right, so the villagers, you had to become the mayor somehow. We didn't just want to have you are the mayor, do this.
Yeah.
So at the start, there's a cutscene where all of the villagers are kind of like shouting at they're shouting at the previous mayor, and he's not very he's not very happy, and he runs off in this cutscene. And then you walk up to the his hat, because his hat falls off his head in quite a comedic fashion and floats to the ground. And you pick up his hat, and you're like, I could do this. And then you become the mayor, and then suddenly you're like, right, well, the people need food. So the first quest is to be able to get people food. You need to have a crop farm. So to get a crop farm, you need to have the resources needed to build that. So the first quest is, right, go and get these resources from the wilderness. For us, it was like a kind of like an onboarding quest line as well. So the players have to go and collect the resources to be able to do this. So first we need to teach them how to collect resources. So they go out, they collect the resources, they come back, they create their crop farm. Now they need to plant some potatoes. So they go, because they need to make some potato soup to feed their village. So they plant the potatoes, but they also need to build a cookery now. So they go get the resources to build a cookery, and then it just kind of keeps going. And we kind of just teach the player whilst also kind of letting them build up their infrastructure as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, go on.
No, I was just gonna say that's kind of like the main lore, really. Just you took over this village, and out of the I guess out of the kindness of your heart, you kind of go through and help these people and kind of like run their village. Because I know at the start we kind of said after COVID and everything, we felt like a sense of community had been lost in pretty much everywhere, really. So we thought we were going to try and like bring back that sense of community, with, even if it's just with a little digital community that you have where you are kind of looking after these people. We thought that was quite like a nice touch, really.
Wonderful. I do like the concept of progression you have actually created in the game. I think after hearing what you said, not having monsters, there is still like this value created and purpose in everything you do in the game, because you always want to, and now I need to gather this because there is this another big thing I need to build, and this gathering actually has purpose behind it, right? So
yeah.
So I think I do like that aspect, and I definitely look forward to what you mentioned about some caves and stuff. I think exploration and different sorts of things you can gather, I think that would be great, like unlocking new areas because you have gathered this much, now we can go to this far, to this place. I think there is certainly, in my opinion, a space for growth in that area. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Pete did a really good job of the level actually as well, of just making, because it's big. It's quite a big level, but it doesn't feel too big when you're running around it. And another thing, which was actually another suggestion from our facilitator, was the wilderness used to be quite samey. It was, no matter where you were, it was hard to kind of tell where you were because everything just looked the same. So instead Pete made this, like, you've got this rock section over in the corner, and then there's like a swamp section at the back, then there's the cave also at the back, which I think I might be running to, not sure.
So some landmarks.
Yeah, just places where you can be around the world and go, oh, all right, I know where I am, I know how to get home from here. And I thought it was quite Pete did a good job, to be fair, making the level look good.
No, definitely, it actually this is my voice. It actually does. It doesn't feel that huge for how like enormous the level actually is. It might have something to do with how speedy the player might feel when they're running around. There is a bit of dust behind them, I think that's that adds the enjoyment of just running around. But at the same time, I do feel like it's extremely important, especially in your kind of game where it's such a core part of the gameplay, because you are going to be running around most of the time. 50-50, like maybe like, okay, maybe like 40% is gathering, 40% is running, and then the rest is the building. So it's such a huge part of the gameplay. So I think you did a good job with it to not make it feel like a tedious part of the game.
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely a challenge. I know there was we did have quite a few testing sessions, and in a lot of them it was, oh, I don't really enjoy going out and harvesting for something that's like before. I think we had it before where it was like it takes like a whole day to build a house, but like people didn't want to play for 20 minutes to then go and build a house that'll take them another 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So we had to like spend a lot of time kind of balancing, making sure everything was, it felt nice as well as played nicely as well.
Yeah. We actually have a question for you in the chat. Someone said, is there a larger goal? So, for example, like a major objective where you would consider the game finished? Maybe something story related that the player can chase after.
So we did have plans for so currently there's one village, but we had plans to make 5 villages. So there was each village had progressively better equipment. So the final village was a luxury village, which everything's made of like gold and diamond and all these different gems.
Wow.
And I guess you could say the winning state would be to have mayorship over all the villages and also have all of the villages at 100% happiness, because you have to keep people fed, you have to keep people working, you have to keep them busy to keep happiness levels up. So I guess that would be our undefined win condition, because we always said we didn't really want a win condition. It was just the winning is the experience, like taking part almost. The loss condition is if you lose. If your happiness level for a village gets to 0, then they force you out of their mayor.
Oh wow.
So let's say you had all 5 villages, and one of the villages you kind of didn't really pay attention to, then they would force you out of being their mayor, and you'd have to get re-elected, which you would do they would hold an election, you'd go to it, and the ideas we had were like they were kind of mini games from kind of similar to like a children's sports day. So like an egg and spoon race to win the mayorship of a village, something fun, or keeping that kind of.
Oh, that is cool. Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah, and we had a couple of ideas where, I know one idea I had that will come as a shock to my team, because I don't think I've ever mentioned it to them, that I'll say now, was a like kind of like a three-legged race where instead of or a one-legged race, sorry, where instead of just running to the finish line, you have to like jump, but you have to press it at the right time to be able to get in. This is the cave that I was mentioning, where you'd have to mine through.
Yeah. We got a teaser.
Yeah,
it's in the making.
Yeah. Little sneak peek. But yeah. So there was a lot of ideas thrown around, but we had to kind of take things out and restrict it to our MVP kind of prototype before the scope got massively too big.
Yeah, I mean, hearing 5 villages with all this enormous space, it would be quite the project. It's actually it's insane to see like all of this space in this sort of game. Maybe we can talk a bit more technical, because you are almost like switching levels when you go from this wilderness to the village. Was that like a choice to optimize the game, and did you make any other choices that you feel would help for other people to also know and consider when they're making games?
So the swap in scenes is actually quite interesting how we did it, because so every object, for example, all these trees, they all have code attached to them that tells them when they need to replenish, so when the tree needs to regrow. But we had an issue where if we actively like changed the scene, so we told Unity to go from the village scene to the wilderness scene, all those objects get like destroyed, so we don't actually, that code isn't running anymore.
Oh, so, yeah.
Yeah, so instead I made a system where both of the scenes, both of the village and the wilderness, are actually both in the same scene. But when you change scene, I wrote there's code that goes over every object in the village and either turns it on or off, but leaves so it makes it invisible and like no collision,
I
just so
see.
that so the code can stay active. So you can't see anything, but it's still there, it's still existing. And then we just swap them in and out, which we it did bring up a few issues with our having like the villagers, for example. We turned off their nav mesh agent at one point, and that just like completely froze them. They were just like, they just stood still when you came back, didn't move. Yeah, it's there was a few issues, but that was quite like a fun technical challenge.
Well, speaking of challenges, is that
Swapping the scenes.
speaking of challenges, would that be like one of your favorite parts that you worked on the game? What would you say you're like the happiest with from development?
So we did have it won't be shown, but we did have a decoration editor, which pretty much allowed the player to detach the camera from their player, and they could place down any decoration anywhere they wanted and create and build up the village. So make it so there's like flowers everywhere. They could put fences down, hedges, and that at one point it did work, and it was
Right.
really good. You could make pretty much anything you wanted to obviously out of the given pieces, and the system actually was really good. But then there was an issue with it which I thought I knew how to fix, and then we had to completely change our camera and how the camera works, because we used the high definition render pipeline, which for anyone watching is definitely not a finished product. But we found out you can't use two cameras because it drops your frame rate by like 20. So we had to
Yeah.
completely change how we were doing stuff. And then that also broke it a little bit. And then yeah, things just didn't really go to plan. So that got like not removed. It's still in the game, but you can't access it because there's like a small issue of not actually being able to do anything with it. But
Right.
that was my favorite thing that I made. But it's just a shame it didn't get fixed.
I mean, maybe in the future, maybe in the future.
Yeah.
What about from the things that we have? What?
I'd say for me, I like the harvesting. I
Yeah.
like walking around. I didn't do any of the art, but I kind of like fit everything together. So making the animations work together, like kind of setting up all the blending, all the animation controllers, and I like how they've turned out as I like the whole, right, everyone's working together on this. We all kind of added something, and now, right, let's put it together. Let's make it a finished product. That's what I enjoyed about the project at least.
Awesome. What about things that you would change from how the project is right now? If you had a chance right now to sit back, what's the first thing that you would iterate on?
Oh, that's a good question. I think if I could just sit down now and just not redo, but like revamp a lot of stuff, I would. First of all, if I could restart the project, I wouldn't do it in the high definition render pipeline. I would do it in the universal render pipeline. That would be one big fix. But I think I'd probably just sit and work on the UI and make the like fix the mini map, because that got broken when things got changed. Yeah. Then like just make the UI kind of feel more alive instead of it like, I don't know, as another example, when you finish a quest task and the tick just appears, maybe have it so the tick is like drawn in instead.
I see.
Just little kind of like polishy things that
Yeah,
you never got around
to. Cool. Okay, let's talk about the enterprise pathway and the journey, the experience. Did your time at the pathway, how did it influence the project, or did it?
Yeah, I definitely say it would. It would have influenced us because we had input from our facilitator, which we wouldn't have had otherwise. And she was incredible. She was very helpful. We had weekly meetings, and it was everything she said was all really good comments and really good like feedback. But I think as a whole, just the experience of like kind of getting up in the morning, getting into a call with everyone, kind of like having this thing that we were all doing the same thing, just getting up, doing the work, and just working on the same project, kind of seeing it come to life. It made a change from obviously when I'm at university, you kind of work on 4 different projects at once,
Mm-hmm.
and then you kind of have to fit in time for all of them. But this kind of just felt like we were getting on to work on Majorum. It was a nice kind of everyone's there, kind of like working together. I don't know, it was a really good experience in that regard, kind of getting up, just doing the work.
Yeah, definitely. This is something you mentioned earlier. I think we touched on it. But who do you expect to play this sort of game? I have a fair idea who you would want to, but who do you think will actually be accessing this sort of game?
Well, our market research said between 20 to 35-year-olds, but I think more realistically, we'd be looking at people between specifically a female audience, but I think we'd be looking at kind of like a 18 to kind of like 20, 16 to 25 maybe age range. That'd be my guess.
I see. Okay, awesome, brilliant. So you've done your market research.
We at the start we did do a fair bit, yeah, to kind of
Nice.
just work out what we were kind of making for people, really.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the people, did the people let you know what they like about the game? Did you have some QA testing happening for you?
Yeah, we had 2 playtest sessions.
Okay.
One for our pre-alpha and then one for our alpha.
Cool.
The pre-alpha one, the game was the game was very simplistic back then. Looking back at it now, it's kind of crazy to me to see like the like how far it's come. But
Yeah.
we did have a lot of feedback saying, right, this doesn't work very well. This could be done a lot better. And then in our next playtest session, pretty much all the comments were, "Oh, the atmosphere feels much nicer. There's a lot more to it." They were a lot more positive. Yeah, but I think people did enjoy playing it in this, especially in the second session.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, would be really cool to see like some before and after kind of stuff. What about a post enterprise pathway? Like right now, as we are sitting here, what can we expect from the studio? What's your plan ahead?
So unfortunately, I'm not 100% certain whether we'll be able to continue making it because of financial issues and other issues as well. But I think for me, the project will always be there. It's always going to be a potentially a project we could pick up in the future, maybe, and get work on again. Maybe when we're all a bit more settled. But I'm still proud of what we've made. I think it's still a really good game. I think everyone worked really hard. Yeah, I think it's not something we should just forget about and leave. I think at some point we'll pick it up again.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. I believe we're gonna have your socials up in chat. You can guys type !Cozy Umbrella if you would like to get some socials. Remember to vote if you enjoyed the gameplay of this game or any others. Yeah, go to the ProtoPlay website. That's where you'll be able to vote. Any few last shout outs, any few last words to our viewers?
Yeah, I'll give shout outs to all of our contractors. So Young Zen for the music that we made, he did a really good job. Abby Hunt, who made some of the art, and Liberty Jones. Also Joseph James, who made some last minute animations for us, which were incredible. And also big shout out to the team as well. Thanks everyone for the good work.
There it is. Awesome. Right, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure chatting to you. Thank you so much, and best of luck. I hope you guys can pick up the game back up again. And next up, I'm gonna be talking to a member of Studio Squidbeak, and that's gonna be right after our short break. Thank you once again, and talk to you guys soon.